creation through bomb and form. The greatest to ever do it like Kareem in the form. Or Dame at the buzzer, Skip at the rucker. 96 Bulls, the GOAT, there's no other. Bulls and Goats get some wins, but never cover. The word gave the answer to sin. No.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Plays. I am your host, Davion, and with me, as always, is the boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Eric.
Hello, my close good friend Davion.
What is poppin'?
We are out here.
We are out here. Exactly 1 week ago, guys, I had dinner with Eric.
That is true.
And his fiance.
And we took
it was great.
No pictures.
And I thought of the same thing.
I thought of that as we were leaving. I'm like, wait a minute.
I thought of it as soon as I was talking. I messaged you, and I was like, it was earlier today. I wasn't thinking about it when I was out there, but when I messaged you today, I was like, there's no way I didn't get a picture with Eric.
Yeah, we totally did not do that.
We threw.
But I promise it did happen. I was there.
It did happen.
Yeah.
We went to a restaurant and everything.
Yes.
It was great.
A restaurant.
It was so fun. Great times.
It was a good time, yes. Yeah, but I got to meet Crystal. You got to meet Katie. That was dope.
Right. Finally got to meet our significant others. Yes, haven't done that yet.
Women.
They are important parts of our lives, yet
true.
we have not met them yet.
Yeah.
Each other's. But in the sports world, a lot did happen.
Yeah, for the last couple of weeks.
Some crazy stuff. We've been gone for 2 weeks. We put in our week 4 or 5 predictions after week 3. So we've been out for a little bit. Nothing's changed in the Philadelphia Eagles department as we are still undefeated. So I get to live my life large. But that actually doesn't take me to the Eagles. I actually want to start off in the NFC, but in the South department. I would like to talk about the Carolina Panthers to start things.
Yeah, that's probably
because
the big one.
Some crazy stuff has happened
I know,
in
it sucks.
Carolina.
Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen are getting a divorce.
Well, that wasn't where I was going,
Did we
but
lose
yeah,
each
that
other
is
on
crazy.
Discord? Is that what happened here?
Hello? Did we lose each other?
Yep.
NFC South Department. No, I wasn't talking about the Buccaneers and Tom Brady getting a divorce. I was talking about the Carolina Panthers.
Yes, that's the big one, probably.
Matt Rule was fired.
Yes, 5 weeks into the season, which as far as I can remember is the earliest the coach has ever been fired. But, I mean, I feel like we kind of smelled this coming. I think you and I both said at the beginning of the year, like, the Panthers need to show out because Matt Rule's job is on the line. Yep. And they're 1-4 so far. They clearly have not been very impressive, and the Panthers decided to part ways with Matt Rule, who I think this is a great talking point, and the NFL needs to stop giving unproven coaches ridiculous contracts.
Valid. Because Matt Rule had such a fat contract.
Matt Rule was the head coach at Baylor before becoming the head coach at in Carolina. Before that, he was the head coach at Temple, actually. And they gave him a 7-year deal.
Yeah, they gave him
which
a fat
we know how college coaches coming into the NFL has turned out for a lot of teams. You can cite like Urban Meyer right off
Urban Meyer.
Yeah. I mean, and of course there are
Chip Kelly.
Yeah, Chip Kelly is another big one. But there are some success stories. Like Pete Carroll came from USC to Seattle and was honestly pretty good. They won a Super Bowl with Pete Carroll after all.
Yeah, kind of goated.
Yeah, so I mean, it happens. It can be a good thing, but it is a hard transition for a lot of people. And clearly, Matt Rule maybe he was over his head. I don't know. Ultimately, I think having pretty inconsistent quarterback play, because you think about all the different quarterbacks that he had there.
Yeah,
he had
he
Teddy,
did.
He had Cam Newton. He had Sam Darnold.
Did he go to a
Baker
Super Bowl?
Mayfield. Matt Rule?
Was he on that? Yeah, was he on that Super Bowl? No.
No, he was a college. This is his first time in the coaching in the NFL. Or I think, like head coach in the NFL.
Was this his first season? No.
Matt Rule? No. This is his third year.
Third year, right?
So, yeah,
I could not think. He had
Cam
Newton a second time.
Are you thinking when the Panthers went to the Super Bowl?
Yeah,
no,
that was a while ago.
That was John Fox.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say,
he
literally did nothing.
John Fox was the coach of the Broncos when they went to the Super Bowl. Who was that? That was Ron Rivera.
Oh, duh.
Yeah.
Duh.
John Fox was the coach in Carolina. I think the first time they went to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm thinking of. Maybe. I don't know.
Who knows? But anyway, yeah, 3 years in the league and he didn't do anything. So, but yeah, Matt Rule getting fired is huge news. But I was looking at one more big piece of news coming out of Carolina, and there is a trade rumor around Christian McCaffrey.
Really? I have not heard the trade
Have you
rumor
seen the
against
tweets about this?
I have not seen this. I have heard the rumors that possibly DJ Moore is going to get traded.
Him too.
And I've heard right now the suitors for DJ Moore are Green Bay, New York, as in the Giants, New York, and then Baltimore.
I've heard Chicago might be in the mix for that too, which is weird because they don't have much.
Potentially.
But, it's interesting. But I really like the Packers fit for DJ Moore. I think he can explode with Aaron Rodgers there. I think that'd be great for him. I would hate for him to come to the Giants because they need wide receivers, and the more they lack of wide receiver, the better for the Eagles. But yeah, so the other big one was CMC. Apparently, I don't know if they're gonna do it. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Apparently, the Eagles, or not the Eagles. Yes, the Eagles, but the specifically the Bills have been calling the Panthers about Christian McCaffrey's availability.
Makes sense.
That's a good pickup for Buffalo. Someone said the Eagles were a potential landing spot too, but I'm cool with not getting CMC.
What I'm looking at straight from CBS Sports is that the top 6 positions right now, in order from 6 to 1, are Washington, Philly, San Francisco, Denver, LA, Rams, and Buffalo, in that order.
For CMC?
For CMC.
Whew.
Which would make sense for the Broncos, honestly. Because
yeah, I mean, with Javonte out with the torn.
Melvin Gordon is clearly struggling. Javonte Williams out for the year. Like, we could use a running back. But I think we could use a running back if we're going to make a run at something. And it doesn't feel like we are right now because we kind of feel fucking awful. So I really like CMC to the Bills. That would be
oh, man,
hot.
that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
If we didn't have the cap space we did, I would love him going to the Eagles. But I like the cap space we have, and we also have Miles Sanders.
Yeah,
and I think that doesn't impact us at all because we're gonna have to trade him for a draft pick, or we're gonna throw a lower pick plus Miles Sanders in a deal.
Yeah,
which I dislike. I like Miles Sanders.
Right, I like Miles Sanders a lot too.
Yeah, and I think CMC is better. Yes.
Yes.
Is it worth the money? Not when we have to pay Jalen Hurts soon.
That's very true.
Jalen Hurts is getting money. So we got like 30 million cap space, and that needs to get a little. Take a lot, like 20 of that goes to Jalen.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, I saw the trade rumors about CMC, DJ Moore. It looks like they're talking about Baker potentially getting benched. There's some crazy stuff going on in Carolina, but it's stuff that needs to happen because they need to blow up.
Yeah.
And they need to figure it out. So, we'll see how that goes. But you mentioned CMC to the Broncos. That actually transitions perfectly into what I want to talk about next is what's going on in Denver.
We're fucking terrible. That's what's going on in Denver.
What are we, 2-3?
2-3 now. We lost
okay.
to the Raiders. We lost to the Colts this week. So the Raiders game, I mean, that's genuinely a toss-up. Like, I literally said it with my mouth. I'm like, I'm not going to not pick the Broncos. They're playing the Raiders. They can't do it. But I expected the Raiders to win that game. Okay, and that was a close one. Like, I'm not, like, dramatically upset about that one.
Right.
I am dramatically upset about the Colts game. Because people are calling that the worst game in NFL history. And I have a hard time disagreeing with it. Because nobody could do anything. The awful Broncos lost to the slightly less awful Colts. Matt Ryan couldn't do anything. Russell Wilson couldn't do anything. Like, people are already like, we need to fire Nathaniel Hackett. Nathaniel Hackett is the worst head coach in the history of the NFL. I'm like, okay, maybe not that far, but yeah, clearly he's not cutting it.
Right.
Like, I mean, my favorite things right now are people in fantasy are dropping Russell Wilson for Geno Smith. You know?
Well, I mean, that's valid, but, you know.
It's like, it's frustrating to me because I feel like the Broncos finally have a quarterback, or they were supposed to, right?
Right.
But I don't remember any of the quarterbacks that we've had since Peyton Manning actually being as disappointing as Russell Wilson. And I don't know if that comes from Russell Wilson hype or Russell Wilson is genuinely that bad right now. But, like, if I think about it, like, Brock Osweiler didn't make me this mad. You know, Brandon Allen didn't make me this mad. Like, Joe Flacco didn't make me this mad. Like, I watched that whole game, and Russell Wilson, I mean, and both the picks he threw genuinely were awful picks. Like, that first pick.
Yeah, and he also,
that first pick
on the fourth down to win the game.
That first pick was atrocious, and then that fourth down to win the game did not seeing
he had a man wide open.
Yeah, not seeing KJ
wide
Hamler.
Open.
Yeah.
I saw it immediately. Like, no, when the play was designed, it's like he has PTSD from the Super Bowl or something. He's not throwing it in that slant.
I have seen that. It's like what we saw and what Russell saw was the exact same play, but Malcolm Butler is like right there on the 3-yard line.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'm like, just throw the ball. Like, he was there. He literally nothing but green grass puts that on the money.
So
That's a touchdown.
the
Broncos walk away with a
the
win.
Broncos need to overhaul a lot of stuff, especially since it seems like the Chargers are hot and the Chiefs are hot, and the Raiders are probably the best 1-4 team in the NFL I've ever seen.
Valid.
Like it's another year of the Broncos being terrible. I wish I couldn't say I was surprised, but I genuinely am surprised, and that's what makes me mad.
I'm surprised too.
I really did have high hopes for the Broncos this year, and they're just falling apart at the seams. And like,
the problem I have with the Broncos is their defense is good. Like, their defense is playing amazing.
Is solid, and their defense is playing really well, especially without a handful of key pieces. Like, obviously, Malik Reed got traded to the Steelers. Justin Simmons has been hurt the entire season so far. So
you see Garrett Bowles is out for the rest of the season?
Yeah, he broke his leg, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, that was rough.
Yep.
Him and Ronald Darby tore his ACL, but Darby always tears his ACL, so it's like...
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, at this point, I'm like, what was I expecting? It's week 5, of course. That sounds like Darby.
Randy Gregory is now out as well. He hit IR.
Ugh. Damn.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys are looking at a rough rest of the year.
Yep. Good news is, though, the Broncos did designate, and the big one actually was Baron Browning, too. That was, I think, his first NFL start or something like that, and he was popping off, and then he got hurt. The big ones, though, are that Greg Dulcich, and that is the third-round tight end that the Broncos drafted this year, Justin Simmons, and then Michael Ojemudia were all designated to return from IR this week.
Nice.
So
that's good.
Optimistic that they will play this week on Monday against the Chargers, which will be good. The other big one, too, is apparently Russell Wilson had a procedure performed on his throwing shoulder to relieve some of the pain.
Yeah, apparently he's been hurting.
Yeah, I've been hurting, bro. Like,
what if he just needed the surgery and this was all he needed? Now he's going to be Russell Wilson again.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be wild.
But, like, here's the thing is, like, I mean, Russell Wilson's been so bad these 5 weeks. Are we sure it wasn't, like, Seahawks bias? Are we sure it wasn't, like, the Legion of Boom that made it seem like Russell Wilson was excellent?
No, Russell Wilson was cracked. Come on now. Like, if you go back and watch some of the games, dude was dotting. He was putting dots. Like, he was making stuff happen.
I know, but
he's one of the best scrambling
I'm thinking back to a handful of incidents. I think the primary incident that I can cite is the NFC Championship game against, I believe it was the Packers. And this
where
is
he threw a dot to win the game?
Yeah. But, like, think about the beginning of that game. Didn't Russell Wilson throw, like, 4 picks?
I have no clue how many interceptions.
Something like that. And then it took their incredible defense to beat the Packers, too. You know, it's like, are we sure it isn't Russell Wilson bias a little bit?
Let's see. He threw 4 interceptions, yes.
Yeah.
And his 1 touchdown was the game winner.
Exactly. You know, like, Russell Wilson played awful that game.
But Marshawn Lynch also had 157 yards.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, like, are we sure that it wasn't Marshawn Lynch and the Seahawks defense that, like, really carried Russell Wilson? Like, we've been saying for years that Russell Wilson's an elite quarterback, but the moment he's not in Seattle, he, like, I miss Joe Flacco right now, dude. I miss Case Keenum right now. Like,
I'm gonna keep it a buck with you.
I need to rescind a comment I made. I'd rather have Jake Plummer, and Jake Plummer is still the 3rd best quarterback in the history of the Denver Broncos, and until proven otherwise, he will stay as such.
I'm gonna say Russell Wilson can rebound. I think Russell Wilson is really good.
I hope he can.
I think this is a case of something else.
From a personal perspective, it doesn't. I'm not optimistic it's going to happen.
Right? Yeah, I think there's a case to be made that his receivers are really young, right? And on top of it, he lost a receiver before the season even started, and Tim Patrick, who was set to, we expected you and I to have a good season. Yeah,
Tim Patrick was expected to explode, but like still, you're working with a very talented group. Judy in his third year, Cortland Sutton,
and then Javonte just tore his ACL, unfortunately.
And KJ Hamler is solid too.
Yeah. So we'll see. I think he can bounce back.
Shout out to the boy Kendall Hinton, who might be a better quarterback than Russell Wilson. That's not true, but
I think what he needs to do this season is, or what he needs to do for the rest of the season is just show that he can still ball.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that's it. Even if you lose games, just show that it wasn't your fault. Ball out and make sure you do it. because these games have been lost on the offensive end. I will live by that because you beat the Texans barely. You beat the Niners by a point, which was a crazy win.
Yeah,
by the way.
our 2 wins are barely against the good Niners and barely against the awful Texans.
Yeah, you lost to the Seahawks by a point, which sucked, but that was a lot of Russell Wilson's fault that they lost. The Raiders game was actually just honestly the defense game.
The Raiders game is the best we played all year.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I don't blame Russell Wilson for the Raiders loss.
No,
the defense kind of lost him that. And then the Colts was just literally Russell Wilson being bad, like terrible. Monday night I think will hopefully be a good bounce back game, but I think the spotlight has really struggled. He's struggled because all of everything's been prime time so far. 4 of 6.
Exactly, and I think
take him out of prime time, maybe get him comfortable in his team, and
I
help.
think that it helps that the Broncos, or it doesn't help that the Broncos have been on prime time 3 out of 5 weeks so far. Will be 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
Like, luckily, the Broncos don't have another primetime game until week 14 after this week when they're set to play the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, which, again, that's like week 14 is when we start hitting, like, flex positions potentially. So that could get bumped out if, like, I don't know, Dolphins-Chargers gets interesting. If, like, Eagles-Giants gets interesting by that point.
Yeah. Well, I think Broncos just need to get comfy. I think they just need to get comfortable in their offense again. And I think Hackett needs to figure it out.
Yes.
Because I think he's been the number one. He's lost. I think he's already lost their locker room. Him and Russ. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. You talk
about like they've been talking all week too about like previous Seahawks players, and apparently like not a lot of them liked playing with Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you saw Richard Sherman on the post game, right?
Yeah.
Like, did you see him have like a war flashback when he's like run the ball?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like. I don't have any source to this. This is like something I think I heard in passing, so I have no idea how true this is. But I feel like I heard people talking about how Seahawks players did not like playing with Russell Wilson back when the Seahawks were the team.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I just think he needs to pick it up.
Yeah, he does. The Broncos need to pick it up because the Broncos are way too injured too.
It's early, right? They're 2-3. I do think that they did need to win a couple games, right? But I don't think 2-3 is worst case scenario based off of how tight the middle of the AFC is. Do I think you're going to win your division? No, of course not. The Chiefs are playing out of their God-given mind.
And so are the Chargers.
But yeah, the Chargers are playing out of their mind too.
The Chargers are playing great football, especially for having really key injuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Broncos
but
are
I do think
not
that
surpassing their injuries right now. And the Broncos' schedule towards the tail end of the year gets really, really, really hard. Mm-hmm. Like, week 10 onwards is in Tennessee, home against the Raiders, in Carolina, that should be a dub, but in Baltimore, home against the Chiefs, home against the Cardinals, which Cod will be out at that point, so dub. In LA for the Rams, in Kansas City, and then home against the Chargers. Like, the tail end of the Broncos season is ridiculous.
It's rough.
Like, we realistically needed to be like 4-1 in these first 5 weeks, I think, to have a shot. We're not, so I don't think we have a shot.
I just think they need to recover. Because, I mean, I think that I think their team on paper is talented enough to beat a lot of teams.
On paper, yes.
On paper, they are talented enough. Now I need to show that they are that talented. That's all I need. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, don't let
right? Because I think they're not bad, but
the Broncos are awful.
Yeah, they're playing bad. So we'll see how it goes. Well, speaking of awful quarterback play, I'm gonna move over to the Steelers. Because Kenny Pickett did make his first start in Week 4.
Yes, he did. After they benched.
Or not first start. His first start was Week 5. He benched in Week 4.
Yes, he appeared in Week 4 in the loss to the Jets, and then started this week in their loss to the Bills. I mean, we knew that this was going to be. We knew that this was going to be a bad quarterback class.
Yeah, man, it's showing. Kenny Pickett is playing terrible.
Yeah, I mean, well, dude, you put him in against.
Doesn't help he played the Bills.
You put him in against the best defense in the NFL right now in Buffalo. Yeah, no, he's gonna be terrible.
Yeah, it did not help that.
But this is the first time, and like, the Steelers is a spoiled franchise, and I can say that because I think the Broncos are a spoiled franchise too. Mm-hmm. Like, the Broncos are contenders every year, minus the last 7. Like, the Broncos are always in the mix, right? The Steelers are a spoiled team because the Steelers are always in the mix. Like, genuinely, this feels like the first time, as far back as I can remember watching football, that the Steelers seem awful.
Yeah.
Like I like the Steelers were always like, I think they'll be decent and they end up being excellent, or I think they'll be decent and they end up being decent. But I've had times where I think the Steelers will be awful and they end up being decent. But I've never ever seen the Steelers like not meet my expectations. You know, like I thought they were going to be decent this year. It seems like they're terrible.
I will say though, I like what they got going on when it comes to Pickens. I think Pickens is phenomenal. 6 catches, 83 yards last game.
Yes, George Pickens looks raw. They need to get him going, obviously.
Dude,
get him the ball more, whether it's Pickett or Trubisky. And it seems like right now Pickett is getting the start against Tampa.
God, what did they do to this man? They threw him against Tampa and Buffalo?
Yep, and then Sunday Night Football in Miami.
Dude, that's messed up.
Yep, and then Week 8 in the link.
That's messed up.
Kenny Pickett's going to get ripped to shreds, bro.
Yeah, those are like 4 of the toughest defense right now.
Yep.
But I mean, I'm happy to see him start.
I think
but
on
it
paper,
sucks.
your win maybe is the Dolphins.
Maybe if Tua's not playing.
But it's Sunday Night Football in Miami.
Right.
Yeah, so... Yeah, I mean,
And
I'm
Tua might be
optimistic
black.
about Kenny Pickett. I think his future looks bright. I think his present looks dim.
Terrible. Yeah, this season's going to be rough,
Yeah.
brother. It was funny because I was like, I was in the group chat for our fantasy football.
Talking
and,
with,
you know, my friend.
I'm probably talking
my
with
friend
Genji
Genji.
Main, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Steelers fan, and I was like, "Holy crap, man! Pickett's in!" And then he threw a pick his first play. I was like, "Holy
did
crap,
do
man! He threw him interception."
I remember because
fun.
I was watching the Steelers-Bills game, and they made a comment, like, you know, midway into the first drive for the Steelers about his first incomplete pass, which was very interesting because this is a cool statistic we could say. In his game week 3, he did not throw week 4 against the Jets. He did not throw an incomplete pass that entire game. Did you know that?
So it was only an interception or a completed pass?
Yeah, because he threw 3 picks.
That's crazy.
He went 10 of
That's
13 with
crazy.
3 picks. So he never had a ball hit the ground,
That's crazy.
which is cool. But
That's, I mean, depending on how cool you want to call that, because it was 3 interceptions. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's all. I mean, I just wanted to talk about Kenny Pickett because I thought that was interesting.
yep.
Lastly, before we get to our mandatory segments, we went from a couple seasons ago. It was the NFC least.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like looking like the NFC beast. Okay. 3 teams, 5-0, 2 4-1 teams, and then the Commanders.
And the Commanders, who are probably the worst team in football, if not them, the Panthers.
The Texans. Oh, I was gonna say the Texans.
I mean, I think it's Commanders, Panthers, and Texans right now are the bottom
Yeah.
3 teams in this league. Yeah. And genuinely,
How do you think?
probably the Panthers are the worst. I'm gonna go Commanders are number 31. Yeah. But
How do you feel about this division right now?
I mean,
Because-
it's been very impressive. I mean, we both expected the Eagles to be good. I think they're excellent.
Yeah.
We both I mean, you expected
We expected the Cowboys to
you
be a
expected the
playoff team.
Cowboys
I expect them to be a
good.
playoff team.
I expected them
and they're
to be
playing
a
above
cusp team.
that.
We both expected the Giants to be awful.
Yeah, and they're
here they
4-1.
are. They're 4-1.
Went to London, beat the Packers.
I know, and what's impressive is that they're 4-1 with like who?
Saquon Barkley's
Saquon
balling,
Barkley.
dude.
And Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is balling too, low
and
key.
he's throwing the ball to. Who?
I don't know.
Exactly.
Couldn't tell you.
That's
Couldn't
what's
tell you.
impressive about the Giants to me is who the hell is on the Giants. Like it's Saquon and it's Daniel Jones because like Sterling Shepard's hurt, Kenny Galladay's hurt. Who else is on the
Let's see.
Giants? Andrew
Who we throwing
Thomas,
to, buddy?
their offensive lineman?
Marcus Johnson, David Sills the fifth, Richie James.
I know exactly David Sills.
I don't know any.
I know
other
Richie
people,
James
honestly.
because I was just like, I need a fantasy wide receiver, and this guy's the top free agent right now.
Dude, you know what's been a big difference makers? Their defense.
Mm-hmm.
Thibodeau and Evan Neal on that O-line have been phenomenal. So, I mean, I'm just saying. You never
so
know.
maybe that is the difference maker of the Giants. But, I mean, Brian Dable came in, and
Oh, they're throwing to Matt Breida, too. He's, the backup running back.
Oh, good for
who's
Matt Breida.
Amazing. And he's
he's
amazing.
amazing in the pass, yeah.
Yeah, phenomenal.
Yeah, because he
pass
was
catcher.
in San Francisco. I don't think he was in San Francisco last year, but I think he
was in Miami.
Miami last year. Okay, yeah. He was in San Francisco, like, I think the year before, maybe 2 years before, something like that.
Yes. He was San Fran, Miami here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the Giants aren't playing awful, too.
Oh, Darius Slayton played last game.
I forgot he was on the Giants. You see, that's my
I
point.
did not. He popped off. He
Like-
had 6 catches for 79 yards.
Yeah, so I'm very impressed with the Giants, and I'm glad you mentioned the NFC East because this is one I really wanted to talk about as I was thinking about is the Cowboys, because I've been talking the whole time about how terrible I think the Cowboys are. No, the Cowboys are pretty good, aren't they? And
Their
I think
defense.
I think
I owe
they
an
proved
apology.
it these last 2 weeks.
I do owe an apology to one individual. Trayvon Diggs, listen, buddy. I am sorry. I meant no disrespect. You heard me tell you that you are just someone who gives up a lot. I lied.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dog.
I mean, the Cowboys
Ball
lost
out.
Week 1 Sunday Night Football against Tampa,
To the
right?
Bucks.
You know, and the Bucks are one of the better teams in the NFL. But then they had an impressive win against Cincy, an impressive win against the apparently really good New York Giants on Monday Night Football. They had an impressive
by a
win
touchdown,
against
too.
Washington, and they had an impressive win against the Super Bowl defending LA Rams.
Yeah, the Rams have looked.
Like I think the
God,
argument
awful.
you make for the Cowboys is that their schedule is kind of relatively easy because I mean like the Bengals are okay. Theoretically the Giants are okay, but apparently they're good.
Yeah.
Washington's awful, and then it seems like the Rams are okay right now. Like I think this Sunday when they play the Eagles in Philly is really the test. I think for both of these teams.
Yeah, but the problem I have is we keep saying this for the Eagles, and the Eagles have played the 4-1 Vikings, beat them. They didn't just beat them on Monday Night Football. They tore them apart on Monday Night Football. Okay. Who do we play week 1? The Lions, who had the #1 offense in the league for like 4 weeks up until this week.
Yeah.
Which was a close game. That was the closest game we've had all season, by the way, outside of the one we just played against the Cardinals. The Cardinals, by the way, who have Kyler Murray and they played really well in that game. And Commanders suck, so I'm not going to hold that one against y'all, honestly. And then the Jaguars, who you guys thought was a test for us, and then all of a sudden it's no longer a test because they lost to the Texans.
Yeah, that's true.
I
I
hate
mean,
life.
listen,
Like,
the
I'm
NFC
just saying.
East is probably the best division in football. Tell me I'm wrong.
Right now, yes, I agree with you. The fact that you have 3 teams, right? 3 teams played and only 2 losses between them with 13 wins is crazy.
Yep, that's very impressive, especially since, I mean, every division's got, one bad team, okay? But if
Yeah,
you look at the other divisions, like NFC North, you have 2 teams right now that are good. You have NFC
The Vikings
West.
and Packers.
NFC West, you have every team is decent.
Right.
NFC South, you have 1 good team.
Right.
Look at the AFC. AFC East, you can make an argument that AFC East is one of the better divisions too.
Yeah, no, the AFC East is crazy. The East is thriving. The Bills, the Patriots aren't far off. The Dolphins lost the Jets. The Jets are 3-2.
I mean,
dude.
the Dolphins were 3-0 and they lost their last 2 games probably because of, the
That's
incident. Yeah, the Jets are 3-2.
Yeah.
Who saw that
And then
coming?
the North, you have
You
the
have
Ravens.
you have a handful of decent teams. You have the
Yeah.
Ravens, you have the Bengals, you have the Browns, who are all decent.
and the South is the same
The
thing.
AFC West is dominated by 2 teams. One team that
Yep.
should be good, and one team that should be good and objectively. One team. Let me rephrase that. Okay, 2 teams that are good. One team that doesn't seem like they are good, but they are good, and one team that seems like they are good, but they aren't good.
Valid.
So, yeah, I think right now the best 2 divisions in football are probably the NFC and AFC East. And I would take the
Yeah,
NFC
it's been
East
fun.
in a head-to-head matchup.
Yeah.
Like, if you put, like, Eagles against Bills right now, that's a toss-up. But if
Yeah.
you take, like, I don't
Everyone
know,
else?
let's say, like, Cowboys against probably Dolphins.
Let's say Cowboys, Dolphins, Cowboys win. Giants, Jets, I think the Giants win. Commanders,
Washington,
Patriots, I'm going to go
probably
Patriots.
win.
Yeah,
So,
and
like,
the
it
Eagles
really,
Bills
it
one
really
is right
comes
now
down
is a
to
toss-up.
who's better, the Bills or the Eagles. And
Right.
who knows? Maybe we'll find out in February down in Glendale.
I would be very happy. I might have to go visit my good friend Nate in February.
Yeah,
if that
speaking of
happens.
the Eagles in Glendale, they did play in Glendale this week.
They did,
And
and
the
they
Eagles
almost lost.
Eagles fans were very, very, very loud in Glendale, though. I don't know if you heard. Like, Kyler Murray was
Yeah,
having
it
trouble
was the
calling
same in
plays.
Washington. It
So-
was the same in Washington
so-
with Carson Wentz. He was struggling to get his snaps off because he couldn't hear the snap counts at a home game.
A lot of people are saying that Eagles fans in Glendale call it a preview. What are your thoughts?
I'm here for it. I'm just saying, who are the 2 best teams in football right now?
Bills and Eagles.
What was my Super Bowl prediction?
Bills and Eagles.
All right, we're going to leave it there.
What was my Super Bowl prediction? Because I think it's shot.
It's Bills and someone else.
I said Bills Niners. I don't think that's an
Yeah.
awful one yet.
It's still not awful because I think low key the Niners aren't bad.
Yeah.
They have a chance with Jimmy G at the helm. Jimmy G at the helm has been phenomenal. What's crazy to me about this, about the divisions, right? Everything else is that the Eagles are the 1 seed in the NFC. The 2 seed is the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think of that. I thought they were gonna be good, but I like playoff, like 4 seed. I didn't think they were gonna. I thought they're 4-1. Their only loss is to the undefeated Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Maybe.
Just saying.
Maybe
It's crazy though
maybe
because
we're gonna get a little Super Bowl 52 action, or at least NFC wise.
God, NFC Championship game, Vikings,
Or
Eagles
it's
in the link 2.0.
Yeah, Eagles and Vikings in the link, where it's just like, how did we get here?
It's been a few years, but here we are again, and then we're just gonna have the kid coming back to repeat. Go Birds!
Go Birds! He's gonna
I
be
love
there.
that picture's
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that kid's funny. Go
But yeah,
Birds! Okay.
The NFC East is looking crazy, dude. The Giants' only losses to the Cowboys so far this season, which is even
The
crazier
Cowboys
to me.
only losses to the Bucks. The Eagles only losses to the nobody, and the Commanders are terrible.
Yeah, and the Commanders have lost to the Cowboys and the Eagles, unfortunately. But we're gonna get a good matchup. Eagles Cowboys this week is gonna be phenomenal.
Eagles Cowboys this week is huge. Ravens Giants Sunday morning is actually kind of important too.
Bills Chiefs.
We had Bills Chiefs. So
We had some crazy freaking games this week.
We do. Bills Chiefs is huge. Cowboys Eagles is huge. I think Ravens Giants is low key huge. I think
That's
another
gonna be a good
really
game.
important one, weirdly enough, is Vikings Dolphins.
That's gonna be a crazy.
Another
game.
really important one, I think, could be potentially Jaguars Colts, because it's the AFC South.
Valid. It's a valid one. I think the Monday Night Football game is important. Broncos Chargers.
It's
I really
very
need the Broncos
important.
to
It's
prove
gonna
themselves.
suck, but it's very important.
We'll see. Maybe this is the Russell Wilson wake up game. If Russell Wilson wakes up and comes out and balls out, what are we gonna do?
I might pick them against the Jets next week. That's what might happen. We'll
Nice.
see. I'm really mad they lost to the Colts. Can you tell?
Yeah, I mean, I was pissed for you. I literally was staring at the game, and I was like, man.
I'll be the first one to admit I'm a terrible fan. I didn't watch overtime.
I was sitting in my Airbnb like, dang, Eric's pissed.
I'll be the first one to admit it. I did not watch overtime.
That's okay. It wasn't very entertaining anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to our very special friend Eric,
Hello.
our co-host. His segment.
Yes.
It's Eric's Injury Corner.
Hello. It's this weird. It's the worst name of all time. Okay, so some major notable ones. We have a lot to talk about because it's been a couple weeks since we did this. I think the huge one that we need to talk about, and I think leads into another potential thing that we could talk about too, is Tua. So Tua obviously got hurt week 3
Yes.
against the Bills.
Very
They played the
concussed.
Bills and was clearly concussed, but the Dolphins team cleared him to play. He got hurt again against the Bengals, and now he is out for a while. And that was a really scary injury against the Bengals. So
Right.
he did not return to the game against the Bengals. He did not play this week against the Jets, and he is not scheduled to play against the Vikings. Speaking of which, Teddy Bridgewater, their backup, is also hurt. So right now, the Dolphins are slated to start third stringer Skylar Thompson, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the huge one. And I think the injury to Tua sheds a lot of light on this thing. First of all, the NFLPA doctor, representative, whatever, who cleared Tua to play week 4 against the Bengals after the injury he sustained in the Bills, was fired very shortly after that game.
Was he really fired?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The reason cited was multiple mistakes made in Tua's assessment.
Yeah.
So
valid.
Tua should not have been playing in that football game. No
Rough.
way should Tua have been playing in that football game.
Yeah,
So-
I think he should have been sitting too. But I will say something I have talked about. I believe that that was roughing the passer. Especially after watching what happened with Tom Brady, that was roughing the passer. He got
What they did to
literally
Tua, yeah, that was roughing the passer,
thrown.
and I think,
They didn't call it.
and that was the major theme of this week. Okay, was the 2 roughing the passer ones. I think you can argue there was a third one on Cooper Rush.
Yeah.
But the one on Tom Brady,
The Tom
and
Brady
one
was
on
absurd.
Patty Mahomes. The one on Patty Mahomes, I get it why it was.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have been, but I get why it was. The
Yeah,
one on Tom Brady was absurd.
Yeah, that was absurd, dude. I was pissed off.
No,
I was like, that's stupid.
Tom Brady got roughing the passer called because he's a baby bitch boy and needed it, and they're like Listen, Tom Brady at his next wedding, I think his groomsmen are going to be wearing some zebra stripes.
I saw that meme too.
Yeah,
It was
that
great.
should not have been a roughing the passer call. The one call on Patty Mahomes, I get why. It shouldn't have been called, but I get why it was. Because the NFL rule is that the defensive lineman or the defensive player is not supposed to put their full weight onto Patrick Mahomes. And you can clearly see, I think it's Chris Jones who sacked him.
Yeah.
The idea is that NFL players, when they're sacking the quarterback, are taught to brace with their arms, right? So that they don't land full force. Chris Jones does so with his left arm and cannot do so with his right arm. Do you know why he cannot do so with his right arm?
I'm sorry. Run it by me one more time. Hit me with it.
Because he has the ball. He stripped Patrick Mahomes on that play.
Oh, yeah.
So he could not brace himself with his right hand, and that's why they called it, is because Chris Jones technically did not, he technically did put his full force on Patrick Mahomes. And the worst part about it is roughing the passer negates a turnover. So the Chiefs maintain possession. Or the Raiders maintain possession. I'm sorry, I've been saying it was on Patrick Mahomes this whole time. It's been on Derek Carr.
Derek Carr.
Yeah, I'm a maniac. I'm sorry. Yeah, so Derek Carr was stripped on this play. And the Raiders maintained possession, even though the Chiefs got the ball, because of the roughing the passer call.
Wow.
So,
yeah,
there's an argument to be made. I think that people were just like, well, what's the what do you do to remedy this? And I think the two most popular ones, I like one more than the other. The one I dislike more is making roughing the passer reviewable. I don't like doing that.
No, I think that's stupid.
Because they tried it with pass interference, and it didn't work clearly.
Yeah, it literally got.
And somebody brought up a really good point, is that when you, like, reviewing calls like things like spot of the ball, things like, did he have his feet in bounds when he caught the ball, right? Those are very objective things. Roughing the passer and pass interference for those things are very subjective things. Like, they're up to interpretation. They're a matter of opinion in a lot of cases. And there's no way that that's going to work. Okay, the second one, which I don't hate, either probably is a better solution, but I can't think of one, is get an eighth referee whose job is to watch the quarterback the whole time.
That's interesting.
Which I don't hate that option, but I think there's a better option.
Oh, I just realized I am on the clock for my fantasy basketball draft.
Ooh, who are you taking?
I don't know. You want to hear what my team is so far?
Sure.
I have Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving,
Good
Zach
pick.
LaVine,
Mhm.
Kawhi Leonard,
Sure.
LeBron James,
Sure.
OG Anunoby,
Sure.
Nikola Vucevic, Russell Westbrook, and Jonathan Kuminga.
Sure.
It's a fun team.
I didn't know that last
It's
guy,
an
but
old
sure.
team, though. Oh, Kuminga, you know what his nickname is?
What is it?
Cum Bucket.
That would make sense. It's very inappropriate, but that makes sense.
It's hilarious. I don't know who I want to take with this pick.
Take a triple single.
I don't think Draymond's available.
We'd weave it in somehow. I knew it.
Actually, is he worth picking? Is this Draymond Green? That's Danny Green. Where's Draymond Green? Oh, he's right here. Actually, he's not a bad pick. He's usually really good in fantasy because he actually puts up triple doubles.
Triple singles.
Well, I mean, yeah. Or not at all. Holy crap. Oh, he missed a lot of time last season. He was not good last season. Hold on. Let me not pick Draymond Green.
Okay, just an idea. How about that Michael Jordan guy?
I wish. And then Mo Bamba just played phenomenal at the end of the season. Didn't play good at the beginning of the season. Malcolm Brogdon is going into a less of a role now. I don't like him. Is this Donovan? No, it's Davion Mitchell. Oh, Poku? Poku's supposed to have a good game. Oh, Pat Will's available. I'm going to take Patrick Williams. Supposed to have a good season. He hurt himself. He got hurt last season. All right, cool. I took Pat Will.
There we go. Okay, so ultimately, I think the major injury right now is still Tua.
Yeah,
There's
huge.
one. That's another one that I think
We
is
talked
kind of
about a few with the
important
Broncos.
Is we already talked about pretty much the notable ones on the Broncos. Dak Prescott will likely not be returning this game for the Eagles.
I think he's
going
going
to
to be back.
So
against the Lions.
it will be Cooper Rush playing the Eagles.
Yes.
Which, I mean, the way the Cowboys have been playing, who cares?
Yeah, who cares who's throwing the ball?
Yeah,
They've been playing well.
that's kind of the major one. And let's just go team by team and over the last couple weeks and kind of what's happened. So starting with Arizona, because the list I have is alphabetical by city. So I think the big one, weirdly enough, for Arizona is Matt Prater is likely not going to play, and their kicker, who was not Matt Prater last week, missed a field goal against the Eagles, so that's kind of an important one.
Yep.
So yeah, Matt Prater is doubtful to play this week against Seattle. The other one is that James Conner did not practice on Wednesday as well, so decent chance he doesn't play.
All right.
Atlanta Falcons. Kyle Pitts was hurt last week. It seems like they're optimistic that he will play. Cordero Patterson, their running back, who
He's still on IR.
you can argue is probably the best player on the Falcons right now.
He is the best player on their team.
No, that's not true.
Not
Second
arguably.
best. He's the second best.
Behind?
Young Hoku.
Oh, you're right.
Second best. He's
Second
on
best.
IR still.
Valid.
Baltimore Ravens. Rashad Bateman is not practicing on Wednesday. Justice Hill is not practicing on Wednesday, so it seems like it is still the J.K. Dobbins show. Tyus Bowser is for sure out. He tore his Achilles. No, I don't think he tore his Achilles. I think he injured his Achilles. I'm not going to commit to it's torn.
Thank God.
Yes, but it seems like he will return to practice tomorrow.
Okay.
So it seems like they're okay for Tyus Bowser. Juwan James is on the Ravens. Of course, he's hurt, but I didn't know that. It's former Denver Bronco Juwan James.
He is indeed on the Ravens.
What's that?
I said he is indeed on the Ravens.
He is indeed, yes. Okay, Buffalo Bills. Obviously, we know about their secondary woes. However, Tre'Davious White was designated to return to practice after being on IR for the first part of the season. He is designated to return today, actually. I don't know if he did. Yes. And Tremaine Edmonds was limited at practice, I think, is another big one. Carolina Panthers. Baker Mayfield hurt. Sam Darnold is allowed to return from IR, but they have not designated him to return. It seems like P.J. Walker will get the start for Carolina against the LA Rams with their new head coach, which as of right now is Steve Wilks. Steve Wilks does have head coaching experience in the NFL. He coached the Cardinals for a year. That was the Josh Rosen year.
Okay.
They got rid of him, and they got rid of Josh Rosen. They brought in Cliff. They brought in Kyler. So Steve Wilks does have head coaching experience in the league. Laviska Shenault also did not practice for Carolina on Wednesday. Chicago is terrible. Nobody cares who is hurt in Chicago because honestly there isn't too many notable ones that we haven't already mentioned. I think the two major ones are still Byron Pringle and Alex Leatherwood, who are still injured. Cincinnati Bengals. T. Higgins didn't practice on Wednesday. Hayden Hurst was limited. Are kind of the two major ones for Cincinnati. Cleveland. Denzel Ward says that Denzel Ward is in concussion protocol. Greedy Williams is still hurt. So the Cleveland secondary is extraordinarily beat up at the moment. It seems like Myles Garrett is still technically listed as questionable, but he did return to practice this week after his car accident, so good for him.
Yeah. Also, did you see, speaking of injuries, you know, the gentleman that got shot on was it the Commanders, Ryan Robinson?
Yes, he came back, didn't he?
He did, and he was introduced. They introduced him using Many Men by 50 Cent, and it was great.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty phenomenal, actually. Loved it.
Dallas Cowboys, obviously Dak. Micah Parsons was limited on Wednesday, which they're optimistic that he will play, though. Those are kind of the major ones. DeMarcus Lawrence is also limited on Wednesday. Jason Peters is questionable to play against the Eagles, which that's kind of a really
I don't think he's
important
playing.
one. That's
I don't think
tragic.
he's going to play. It seemed like he wasn't going to play.
We talked about the major ones for the Broncos. Detroit Lions, DeAndre Swift, DJ Chark still hurt. Jameson Williams still out. It was really basically more people are getting added to their injured list and nobody's coming off of it, which is not a good look for Detroit. Green Bay. Honestly, everybody in Green Bay is kind of in a good spot. Sammy Watkins is still on IR, I guess. Houston. I don't know any of these names because I don't know very many players on the Houston Texans, if I'm being entirely transparent. Michael Dwumfer was added to IR on Wednesday. I don't know why. Okay. Shaq Leonard for the Colts did not return to practice on Wednesday, nor did Jonathan Taylor. Shaq Leonard is in concussion protocol. Jonathan Taylor has an ankle injury. Nyheim Hines is still in concussion protocol, did not return as well. Or no, he was in a non-contact jersey on Wednesday. So it probably means he won't play. Kwity Paye is week to week. Questionable right now. Jags.
That's rough.
Zay Jones is questionable, kind of the big one. Chiefs, Harrison Butker is back in limited fashion. Trent McDuffie is allowed to return from IR, so he will probably get his first NFL start.
The duffel bag.
Yeah, the duffel bag. And Justin Ross still on IR. We're waiting for him to come back. Vegas Raiders, Darren Waller is questionable to return. Oh, he went out in the game against the Chiefs, but they haven't put him onto the injury report yet. So I don't know what the situation is with Darren Waller. Keenan Allen seems like he will be back this week, finally. Gosh. And obviously Rashawn Slater's Joey Bosa are still on IR. Rams. Brian Allen. That's why. I'm like, Brandon Allen is not on the Rams. His ass is not a Ram. Tyler Higbee and Cooper Kupp were not at practice on Wednesday, both for undisclosed reasons. So that could be huge for the Rams, though they are playing the Panthers, so maybe it's not that big. We'll see.
Maybe Matt Stafford will finally throw it to Allen Robinson.
Yeah. Dolphins. Obviously, the big news is that no Tua, no Teddy, which means that they're starting Skylar Thompson. Also, Raheem Mostert and Xavier Howard were injured as well. They are not optimistic about Raheem Mostert. They are optimistic about Xavier Howard, though.
Hey, listen. Dolphins. There's a guy by the name of Cam Newton who's just vibing.
There is a guy by the name of Cam Newton who is just
There's
vibing.
also a guy by the name of Colin Kaepernick who's just vibing.
He is just vibing.
Pull the trigger.
Just bring in everybody. You know who else they should go get is Des Bryant. Why not? Just get everybody.
Why not?
Just get
Yo,
everybody.
Antonio Brown, he's vibing.
I don't know.
Not for the right reasons, but he's vibing.
Yeah. Gosh, Antonio Brown's a mess, isn't he?
He'd be nuts in that receiving core, though.
Oh, absolutely. Zadarius Smith and Alexander Madison are questionable, but they're both pretty optimistic that they will play. For the Patriots, Mac Jones was limited at practice on Wednesday. He could potentially come back this week when they play. Who? Browns. Cleveland.
Play the Browns. I think it's going to be Bailey Zappi based off of what Bill Belichick said. He says Zap not being... Zap starting is not out of the question.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And then, because Brian Hoyer is still in IR, obviously, he would be the two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jonnu Smith and Nelson Aguilar were also limited on Wednesday. So
Not
was
Aggie.
Damian Harris.
Not Aggie.
Yeah. Saints. Chris Olave is currently going through concussion protocol, but they are optimistic he will be back. Taysom Hill has a ribs injury, probably because he was the workhorse. Apparently, Taysom Hill is out here recovering fumbles, too, on punt team. What
He's
the hell?
crazy.
Yes, Jameis Winston was limited at practice. So we could potentially see Taysom Hill. We could potentially see Andy Dalton. We don't know exactly what that situation is going to be yet. Michael Thomas also did not practice on Wednesday. The New York Football Giants. Basically, everybody's hurt. Their wide receivers, they're hurt. Tyrod Taylor has a concussion, so their backup is hurt. Leonard Williams
Doesn't seem like they
is
need
hurt.
him, but they're
Adoree
hurt.
Jackson is hurt. Yeah, so basically anybody on the Giants is notable is hurt. Two really big ones for the New York Jets, though. C.J. Mosley, Carl Lawson are both limited Wednesday. Could potentially come back. We'll see.
Okay.
Your Philadelphia Eagles, I think probably the main one is that it says that Jason Kelce sustained a low ankle sprain on Sunday, but they're pretty optimistic he will play against Dallas. And your boy Kenneth
I think everyone's
Gainwell
playing.
was limited.
Gainwell also hasn't been playing a lot, though.
Yeah, so
he hasn't been
that's
getting
okay.
a lot of touches.
I
Yeah,
think the
and
other one
Boston
that-
Scott's set to come back.
Yeah,
so,
the other one
and
that
so
might
is Maddox, which is
I was
huge.
gonna say the other one that might matter is Avonte Maddox. Steelers. Terrell Edmonds is officially back. He passed concussion protocol. Pat Freiermuth and Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth did not practice. Deontay Johnson was limited at practice. T.J. Watt underwent knee surgery as well. So he will probably be missing a little bit longer than expected. San Francisco 49ers. Obviously, the major one is still Trey Lance. He will not play at all this year. Nick Bosa, according to Kyle Shanahan, Nick Bosa has got a chance, quote unquote, to play against the Falcons. Eric Armstead did not practice is a big one for them too. Seahawks, Rashad Penny officially is done for the year. He broke his fibula. So this is the time for Kenneth Walker to finally shine, their rookie running back that they drafted. You know, I feel really bad for Rashad Penny. I have a lot of love for Rashad Penny because he's a San Diego State guy, which means that he is a Mountain West guy by default. So I love me and my Mountain West guys, and it just kind of sucks. Rashad Penny never really panned out for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Tampa, Carl Nassib out. Russell Gage did not practice. Cameron Brate is officially back, their tight end. Julio did not practice. Chris Godwin was limited. So their wide receiver core is pretty much Mike Evans at this point, and then like maybe Russell Gage, Julio, Chris Godwin.
Did they release Cole Beasley? They still got Cole Beasley, right?
Cole Beasley retired.
Did he retire?
He retired. He played a game for the Bucs and retired.
He said, "I'm too old."
Yeah,
for
he's
this
like,
shit."
I've had enough.
I'm a head out.
Yeah. Good news for the Titans. Nobody's like questionable because everybody's out. Bud Dupree officially out. Traylon Burks officially out are kind of the two major ones.
That's funny.
And then that takes us to Washington. Logan Thomas is officially out against the Bears this week. So is Jahan Dotson. So is Jonathan Williams. Those are kind of the major ones for Washington. This has been everyone's favorite segment. Eric's Injury Corner.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you, Eric, for the Injury Corner. I greatly appreciated it.
Anytime, pal.
And we now head to our last segment of the day. Is our predictions for Week 6.
Yes.
This is gonna be fun. Football is in full swing. I've enjoyed football so far, and not only because my team's undefeated, but the games have been actually really wild, as always.
They have too. I have enjoyed the football slightly less than you, though, because my team fucking sucks.
Valid. So, kick it off Week 6. You guys will see this Thursday. We are recording this Wednesday, so tomorrow for us, but today for y'all. The Thursday night woes continue. Commanders at Chicago.
The Washington Commanders make their NFL primetime debut playing against the Chicago Bears in Soldier Field. Two pretty bad teams playing on Thursday Night Football, as is tradition.
I think one of them is slightly better.
Yes. Gridiron Heights did a great segment about Thursday Night Football. They're like, they have to randomly select two awful teams to play on Thursday night. It's like, we can't do it. We just played. We can't do it. We just played. And it's just like, the gods have chosen Jaguars, Lions.
Yeah, and it's really funny because the first Thursday Night Football game on Amazon was Chargers at Chiefs.
Right? Yeah. Like
started on such a high note, and everything's been terrible ever since. The Bengals-Dolphins was okay.
Bengals-Dolphins was okay. Minus. Like,
it was okay until Tua died.
The Tua incident. Yeah. Yeah. So, who you got? Bears and Commies.
You know, I really hate to do this. I picked the Commanders.
Okay. I mean,
if there's
something
I've learned is I genuinely think Carson Wentz can win a game on primetime.
That's fair. I'm going to go with the Bears.
That's valid. I'm going to go Commanders. I wanted to be different.
All right, well, don't worry. I got plenty of different for you. So
I'm ready for all the different.
Sunday morning, Baltimore Ravens in MetLife playing the New York Giants. Giants are 4-1. Ravens are 3-2. I think on paper the Ravens are the better team, so I'm going with the Ravens as well on the road.
Picking the Ravens. Ravens, I think they have less injuries to their team. I think their run defense is good enough to stop Saquon, which is the whole reason the Giants are good. Mm-hmm. So, Jags at Colts.
Listen, I don't care if the Colts won last week. They're getting the Broncos treatment. I'm not picking the Colts again until the Colts win a game.
Okay.
Jags.
I'm picking the Colts.
Fair.
Okay. Patriots at Browns.
Honestly, this is a solid game too.
This would be a solid game if Mac Jones was playing.
Yeah, you have a pair of 2 and 3 teams with backup quarterbacks playing right now, Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zapp. So it basically will come down to who has the better team to support them, or in this case, I think who has the better city to support them. So Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm going Cleveland as well, and I also think that Jacoby Brissett is much better than Bailey Zapp.
I would agree. That's probably a safe bet. Yeah. Cincinnati at New Orleans, potentially the Andy Dalton revenge game. Weird.
I'm realizing I have a lot of road teams winning this week.
Oh, we're going to be very different. This is where my comeback starts, or where
Okay.
you for sure win pick'ems already by week 6.
Right.
One of the two.
One of the
Bengals
two.
at Saints. I'm going with New Orleans.
I picked the Cincinnati Bengals.
That's fair.
The Saints are looking like garbage. I'm sorry. I dislike watching them play football right now. I can't
think I'm
afford to
more
pick them.
optimistic about the Saints than I probably should be. This is also Joe Burrow's return to the state of Louisiana, so
Yeah,
this is a
LSU
hype
do
game
be
in
loving it.
general. Yeah.
Yeah, Andy Dalton revenge tour.
Yeah. All right.
Bucks at Steelers.
Yeah, Bucks at Steelers. It's in Pittsburgh, but the Steelers look horrible,
They look terrible.
and the Buccaneers look decent to above average. So I'm gonna go with Tampa on the road.
Yeah, until Kenny Pickett beats somebody, I can't pick Kenny Pickett. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay.
Yep. Niners at Falcons.
We know who you're picking.
Yep, I'm picking the Niners because the Niners are not the Falcons.
I'm also picking the Niners, but because I think the Niners are a better football team. I know Cordero Patterson is rough.
Yep.
Jets at Packers.
Weirdly enough, I had a really hard time picking this game.
I think it's a really hard game to pick. Genuinely.
And here's what it comes down to is how many times have you ever seen Aaron Rodgers lose twice in a row?
Not very often.
Not very often. So I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Yeah, but this is one of those times where he's not only going to lose in London to a New York team, he's going to lose at home to a New York team. So I'm going to pick the Jets.
Okay. Vikings at Dolphins. I mean, I think this would be an excellent matchup if the Dolphins were completely healthy. The Dolphins aren't.
I wish we had a Tua.
I'm having a hard time believing Skylar Thompson can beat the pretty good Vikings, so I'm going to go with Minnesota.
I did pick Minnesota as well.
Okay. Panthers at Rams.
Justin Jefferson's about to obliterate them. I'm sorry.
Panthers at Rams.
I mean, Panthers are in sell mode. They just fired their coach. They're looking to trade people. I'm going. LA's feeling the sauce. I'm going LA.
I'm taking a huge risk here. Okay.
Oh!
I'm going to go with Carolina.
The Cooper Kupp injury means that much?
I'm hoping this is spicy, not stupid, but it probably is spicy and stupid. I'd love to tell you my reasoning next week, but I don't want to will a loss into existence. Okay. So I'll tell you about it next week. But I promise there is a reason I'm picking the Panthers, and it's
all right.
because
I'm here for
fuck it.
Cardinals at Seahawks.
This is honestly kind of a tough game right now too.
Yeah, the Seahawks are rolling.
Even though they lost last week, you could argue the Seahawks are rolling, and it's in Seattle, and it feels like Arizona's reeling a little bit. So let's go Seattle.
I'm gonna go Arizona. I think them losing to the Eagles, how they lost to the Eagles, will spark a fire under Kyler Murray. There's no double XP weekender going on this time. It's time for him to ball out.
But Overwatch 2 is out.
Yeah, but he doesn't play Overwatch. He plays Call of Duty.
All right.
It's fine.
Arguably the game of the week.
This is the second hardest game to pick this week.
For sure, a game of the week. Bills
Actually, I think
Chiefs.
this is the hardest game to pick this week.
Bills and Chiefs, a rematch of the AFC divisional round, once again in Arrowhead in Kansas City.
Yep.
This is a tough game because
I have
these teams are both nuts.
I made my selection. It was rough. It was rough to pick it. But I have my reasoning. Josh Allen, revenge tour. I'm going Bills. It's tough. This is the hardest one. This is like the hardest game to pick.
It is, because I almost really want to change my pick right here, right now.
It's tough. This game goes either way. Sorry.
Give me Kansas City. Let's just send it.
Okay.
Give me the Chiefs.
It's fine. That's fine. I mean, the game goes either way.
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football. Prime time NFC East. One of the best rivalries in football. Cowboys in the link taking on the Eagles. Oh, I'm so hyped. I can't pick the Cowboys to beat the Eagles, just so we're clear. I'm picking the Eagles.
Right. Yeah.
That's right. But I'm very hyped for this game.
Boys and the Birds is a national holiday, basically.
Yes.
I mean, the Eagles are 5-0. I'm not going to not pick the Eagles until they lose a game. So sure.
Oh,
Eagles.
I meant to say this earlier with the Eagles being undefeated. The Texans won a game.
They did do that. We're out of winless teams. NFL parity. We're here.
The law of equivalency is non-existent this season. The Eagles are still undefeated.
I wouldn't have said that if I were you. Eagles, though.
Well, it was week 5. The curse was broken week 5. It don't matter. We keep rolling. We go into the bye week undefeated. I'm feeling it.
Okay, Monday Night Football, Broncos at Chargers.
Another cool Divisional matchup, by the way.
It is, and it's a really important divisional matchup. We get a pair of
For
primetime games.
Both teams.
Well, yeah, one of us is happy about it.
Both teams is actually very important for, because if the Chargers lose to the Broncos, they become tied with the Broncos at 3-3. And if the Chiefs beat the Bills, that separates a lot for the Chargers and the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
But the Broncos need to win this game to stay competitive in the AFC West. This is a crazy game. I think if it doesn't happen this week, it's not going to happen at all this season. This is the Russell Wilson blow-up game. Give me the Broncos.
No, give me the Chargers. The Broncos piss me off.
That's valid. I expected that, but I'm feeling the Broncos this
I'll
week.
pick
I
them
don't know
when
what
they win
it
a
is.
game. Maybe.
Okay. Here it goes. Well, we're picking them against the Jets.
Yep, and then that leaves the Lions, Raiders, Texans, and Titans to get our first round of bye weeks this season.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
well, that's it.
Let's break it down. I'm taking. We have a lot different this week.
We do.
I can't remember the last time we had this many different.
For clarification, guys, I am up 5 games in pick'ems. In week 4, I went 12-4. Eric went 9-7. In week 5, I went 10-6. Eric went 8-8.
Comeback starts right now. Because
Eric, you have not gone above 9. You haven't gotten a double-digit win week yet.
Hey,
I just got my first 2.
this is the one.
This is the one.
I'm going to go with the Bears, Ravens, Jaguars, Browns, Saints, Buccaneers, 49ers, Packers, Vikings, Panthers, Seahawks, Chiefs, Eagles, and Chargers this week.
I'm going Commanders, Ravens, Colts, Browns, Bengals, Bucks, Niners, Jets, Vikings, Rams, Cardinals, Bills, Eagles, and the Broncos.
I think we only have 3 in common. Ravens.
The Eagles.
The
Eagles,
Ravens.
Browns.
Bucks, so 4.
You picked the Bucks.
Niners.
You picked the Niners. 5. You picked the Vikings.
I did
6.
I think that's it.
I think that's it as well.
So we have more. We have 8 games different, 6 games the same.
Wow. Yeah, this could be
This could be the week.
This could be the week. Comeback starts right now.
Or we split those and go 4-4 apiece,
Or
and
I go
nothing changes.
Right, or I go 14-0 and I have the craziest week in our history.
Listen, man. I told you, if I ever were to go 13-1 and it's the Falcons' fault, I'll take that. That's when I'll start picking the Falcons again. So, this is your chance,
Valid.
Falcons. Prove to me that you could win a game, and also prove to me that the Bears, Ravens, Jaguars, etc. can win a game.
I would just like to say that only one time so far this season have we gotten the Falcons' prediction right when they've won, and I got it. I got one of them.
Listen,
one of the
man.
2. Felt good about it.
Are the Falcons 2-3? So that means I've gotten it right 3 times.
Valid, but I've gotten it right 4. Well, I think that's everything from us. Anything on your side to end it off?
Dude, I got nothing. Next week is kind of a weird week because you have 4 really important teams going on bye next week, being the Bills, Eagles, Rams, and Vikings.
Yeah.
So next week's going to be kind of a weird week. I think enjoy the football while you got it, because I think next week's going to kind of suck, honestly. So
Chiefs-Niners should be fun.
Yeah.
I think Cowboys-Lions has potential if the Lions don't do what they did against the Patriots.
We have the Colts-Titans rematch already.
Dang, that's crazy. That was fast.
You have
Giants-Jags.
You have
Doug Peterson running it back in New York.
Yeah, you have. Gosh. That's
it.
7 kind of sucks. So enjoy
Unless
football while you got
Tua
it,
comes
folks.
back, then Sunday night will be fun.
Will it? If Tua comes back, then I think it's a slaughterfest.
I disagree. I don't think it's gonna be a slaughter.
But no, we do get Sunday Night Football. We do get a redux of one of my favorite NFL games in history. What was, in my opinion, the worst NFL game prior to the Colts-Broncos game dethroning it. There was a Monday night game, Steelers and Dolphins. I think it was in Pittsburgh. And it was rainy as fuck all game. And I think the final score was that the Steelers won 3-0.
That's crazy.
Off of a game-winning field goal.
Wow,
and
that's wild.
Like, I'll see if I can find the video. There's a point where somebody punts, and it hits the ground, and it doesn't bounce. It sticks in the ground.
That's crazy.
How wet the field is.
That's wild. Yeah, I mean, you kind of expect that game to be 3-0, though.
Exactly.
You know?
So the game finished 3-0. It was a Monday night game. I know it was Roethlisberger, so this had to have been, like 2007 or something. Yeah. So there's your Nito fun fact of the day.
There we go. Well, with that, you guys, we're gonna head out. Any I think that we've already said any last comments, but I have nothing over here.
I got nothing over
Fly,
here.
Eagles, fly. Let's stay undefeated. We're home, so hopefully that game is popping. It's going to be a fun one, though. It's going to be a fun one.
Broncos country, let's ride. Please.
Please.
I beg you. Please, let's ride.
All right. Hopefully Thursday night isn't terrible. Have you guys a great rest of your evening. We'll catch you guys all next week for another round of Behind the Plays. I'm your host, Davion. With me, as always, Eric, and we are out. Peace.
See ya.